Okay, so now we have a proper number of students in the class, and we are going to go into a second loop here. We'll use a for loop with a range function to ask the user to enter the midterm and final scores for each of the students in the class. So for example, here in my sample output, we said 5 students in the class. So that for loop ran 5 times. You can see 5 sets of 2 statements for the midterm and final for the students. And look at what I'm doing here. We'll talk about this, but look, it says enter midterm grade for student 1, enter final grade for student 1. And then I'm doing student 2, enter final grade for student 2. So you can see the 1, 2, 3, and so on as the loop is running. So let's set up our for loop header here. So I already have this coded. Let me paste that in. Okay, so we'll just do a little throwaway variable I. Okay, and so that's our loop counter. And what's the range here? It's the number of students. Okay, so if they entered 5 for 5 students, then this loop is going to go 5 times. If they enter 10 students, the loop will go 10 times and so on. But here's the thing, the range is going to have these values. So let's say I did enter 5. The range would generate a sequence. The range function generates a sequence 0 through 4. So I would take on the values 0 through 4 as this loop is iterating. Not a problem, but here's the thing. If I want, I don't want to say enter midterm grade for student 0, enter final grade for student 0. Like regular people, lay people, start counting at 1. So we are going to have to finagle something here as I'm getting the user input. Okay, let me paste that in. Okay, I need to be careful with my indentation. Okay, so for example, we're getting the midterm grade, okay, for the first student or whatever student, whatever iteration we are at in the loop. But look at this, the I plus 1 offsets that loop counter value so that you're displaying lay people numbers starting at 1, starting your count at 1. So, you know, like I said, when you're user, you should always kind of offset that. Users don't generally start counting at 0. Programmers start counting at 0. So yeah, so that's what that's about, just offsetting that counter variable to make your input more user-friendly. So anyway, yeah, converting to float, or I guess int would be okay. But since we're dealing with student scores, I think, you know, having a little bit of a decimal there would be good for more accuracy. And just putting these in the midterm and final variables that I created in the long list of variables that we have. Okay, so once we have the midterm and final score for scores for the student, this is a very important line of code that comes next. We are going to call our function, hey you, get letter grade. Here's a midterm and a final for you. This is what the user just entered. We're going to pass those to the function, okay? Those are going to land in the parameter variables. Okay, and then we're going to average them out, and the function is going to return an A, B, C, D, or F. And the operative word there is return A, B, C, D, or F. So what's going to happen? That A, B, C, D, or F is coming back here to the main program. We must capture it in a variable. Okay. And so this is our letter grade variable that we created in our long list of variables. But the important thing is when this, and I have to watch my indentation here. The important thing is that, that letter that comes back, the A, B, C, whatever, we're not letting it slip through our fingers. We're capturing that. We're preserving that in a variable. Okay, so that's an important point here. Okay, so once we have that, A, B, C, D, or F. Now is the time for the tally statements. I'll pull up the instructions here. Okay. So where are we at with these? Okay, so we're prompting the user. This is the line that I just typed, that I just put in there with where we're calling the function, passing the values, getting the return value, and now this. We are going to code a branching structure to tally the appropriate variable. Okay. So let me pull up my code here. Okay, so we have these tally variables, num A's, num B's, for the number of A's, number of B's, and so on. So I'm going to paste this in. Okay, so again, the function is returning a letter, and we're putting that in letter grade. If the letter grade that came back is an A, I'm going to increment the number of A's, right? Number of A's equals whatever's already in there plus 1. Or else, if it's a B, then we're going to tally the number of B's, or we're going to increment the number of B's, and so on. So we're just going down the line. What came back? What's in that letter grade variable? Whatever it is, I'm going to tally or increment the appropriate variable to keep account of the number of students that had that grade. Okay, so I think I'm going to end this video, and then I'll pick up the rest of the program in the next video.